The UK Trade Minister agrees but says there is no clear timeline yet for when a deal might be finalized. Currently, UK goods face a 10% tariff when entering the US, with even higher charges on cars, steel, and aluminium. Vance said that the US is working very hard with Keir Starmer's government to reach an agreement. However, Vance was less positive about US-EU trade relations, according to correspondents. Meanwhile, the UK is hosting an international conference in London to help find a solution to Sudan's civil war, which began 2 years ago and has created what aid groups call the world's worst humanitarian crisis. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy announced an extra £120 million in food and medical aid. He urged the world not to ignore Sudan, where 30 million people urgently need help and famine is spreading. More than 12 million people have been forced from their homes, tens of thousands have been killed, and there are widespread reports of sexual violence and genocide in Darfur. US President Donald Trump has blamed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for starting the war with Russia just a day after a deadly Russian attack on Sumy killed 35 people and injured 117 others. Speaking at the White House, Trump said Zelensky, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and former US President Joe Biden were all responsible for the war, which he said had caused millions of deaths. He criticized Zelensky for constantly looking to purchase missiles and questioned whether the Ukrainian leader understood what it meant to start a war. Although estimates showed hundreds of thousands have been killed or injured since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, Trump repeated his claim that all three leaders could have prevented the war. And lastly, on global news, several prisons in France were targeted in overnight attacks with cars set on fire in prison car parks and gunfires aimed at a prison entrance, authorities say. Justice Minister Gerard Damenis said the incidents were intimidation attempts likely linked to the government's tough stance on drug trafficking. Damenis announced that he was traveling to Toulon to support affected prison staff. He said the government's efforts were seriously disrupting criminal networks. And that's it from the global scene. Rebecca Guffey reporting for BTV News.